In Swami Kriyananda's wonderful and very comprehensive book, The Art and Science of Raja Yoga, I'm going to hold this up briefly here. He devotes 2 chapters to what he called the anatomy of yoga. And I thought to take a little journey through the anatomy of yoga, which is really the chakras, the energy pathways in the body, and the energy centers in the body, and begin this one with the root chakra, called in Sanskrit the Muladhara chakra. And it's fascinating to think of this pathway, this journey, as a journey of awakening. The anatomy of yoga is not a purposeless anatomy. It's not just a physical anatomy. It's an anatomy of direction. It's a direction from relative unconsciousness or subconsciousness to relative awakening and ultimately complete awakening. And it begins at the base of the spine. And this chakra, this energy center, has physical functions, as all of them do. It governs locomotion, it governs elimination of waste, and it helps us to, on a physical level, it helps us to achieve stability. And of course, we can see this. Swamiji was once asked, what's the most important yoga posture? And he answered somewhat humorously, but also somewhat seriously. He said, that which will enable you to stand on your own 2 feet. And so we see, if we can stand balanced on 2 feet, we actually have the potential to deal with the world in a positive way. And this chakra helps us to achieve that stability. It is connected with the earth element, and one of the spiritual qualities of it is the ability to follow the rules. Specifically, in a spiritual sense, the yamas, which we've spoken of in other videos. But these are the things that we have to control in our lives, the important rules that if we don't follow them, we get into big trouble. It's kind of like learning that you don't hit your sister, or you don't take the air out of the bus tires, or, there's any number of, you don't throw the kid through the ice into the freezing water in such a way that he dies in the wintertime. Just basic laws of life that if we follow them and we learn to sort of control ourselves, then good things can happen. Bad things are prevented from happening, and good things automatically begin to sort of take shape, take root in our lives. It's also connected with some yoga postures, and Swamiji explains those throughout the 14 steps, throughout the art and science of Raja Yoga, which includes 14 lessons. But chief among them in this scenario would be the firm pose, because it helps us to feel anchored, to feel firm in our principles. If we don't achieve that firmness, then we're not sort of qualified to take the next steps on the journey, because we're sort of swishing and moving back and forth among the realities of this world. It's kind of like planting a seed but pulling it up all the time, or digging it up all the time to see how it's growing. It needs a chance to take root. And this is the center that enables our spiritual life to have a foundation under it. This is also the center that is connected with the Kundalini, which is the coiled up power of the universe that lives within us. It's really the power of God's presence. The serpent power is another way that it's described. But it stays coiled up. figuratively it's described as being coiled up, which is just another way of saying that it has magnetism, which is sort of like a coil, like a spiral, and it contracts upon itself. This center is associated astrologically with the planet Saturn, and as such, it has that kind of binding power. It's asking us to learn to focus. If we learn to focus our energy, our attention, our drive, then we can actually accomplish great things. Saturn is not just a planet of contraction, and this energy center is not just trying to sort of ground us to the earth and hold us there, but rather it's just saying, start from the ground up. It's fine if you have your head in the clouds, but keep your feet on the ground. This center is also associated with the need for security, safety. We have several friends who have had babies born recently, and it made me reflect on the needs of an infant, a newborn. And one of the first of those is warmth, safety, security, nurturing, love, obviously sustenance as well. But all of us have that need. As we've mentioned in other videos, we've been working on emergency preparedness in about the last year. But in the fire season in California, when the air was really bad recently, it's been better in the last few days. But we've noticed, and we've kind of cultivated this awareness of, let's try to be as prepared as we can be for whatever it is that is happening, for whatever it is that may come to us. And in so doing, we're trying to sort of work with whatever potential needs there may be. And so in studying about this, it's been repeatedly reinforced in my mind the need for shelter, the need for to not be exposed to the elements. And it struck me that you can die of exposure almost as quickly, or in some extreme cases even more quickly, than you can die from lack of oxygen or lack of air to breathe. Depending on how extreme the climate is, it can be seconds to minutes. And so obviously in most climates it would be longer than that. But I mean, you can literally not live through the night if you are exposed to elements that are drawing energy away from the body. And so this center is asking us in life to establish ourselves safely, securely, and to have that foundation upon which to grow in our lives. And we can't skip past that. It's really important. We can theoretically build a building without much of a foundation under it. It's just not a very good idea. It doesn't last. Even Christ in the Bible refers to buildings built on sand, and the sea comes in and washes them away. Little children build sand castles on the beach, and sooner or later the tide comes up and it all gets washed away. So we have to build on the granite of firm commitment, stability, security. Once we've achieved those things, then we're qualified to move on. But that step is a very important one, and it yields deep, deep blessings. It's not as if we become sort of anal retentive. That would be perhaps one of the negative connotations of this overemphasis on this particular chakra or on these themes. But instead, what happens is there's real spiritual power in it. And it's power that we can feel when we encounter someone who has that established in their own lives, in their own life. And so I describe all these things simply as a way of saying, tune in inwardly. I'll invite all of us to take this journey. We'll journey our way up through the chakras and through the different stages on this journey of awakening together. Feel in your meditation, perhaps today or tomorrow, feel the power of firmness. Perhaps try practicing the firm pose and feel that steadfast commitment to principle and how important it is to stay firm and dedicated to that principle, because that's the foundation on which we can build our spiritual lives. Namaste.